All right. JJ in the house. Are you ready? Are you ready for a story? Okay, tonight's episode is named Professor Peanut Butter and the Temple of Doom. Are you going to come over here?
Well, I'm sort of doing something.
Wow, okay. You don't want story time?
I am listening.
How do I know you're listening if I don't have your full attention? Eyes plastered on me so that you know that I know that you're engaged.
But my ears are plastered on you.
Oh, they are?
Yep.
So if I whisper something, you'll hear it?
Yep.
If I whisper chocolate ice cream, you'll hear that?
I didn't.
Oh, well, see, you're too far away. Had you been listening, you would have heard me say chocolate ice cream. Did you hear it?
No.
No, see, you're too far. Guess you won't get any chocolate ice cream. There you go. That's a good idea. Yeah, just move it over here. Okay, are you ready? Okay.
I'm doing something fun for the dolls because they don't have much flour in their house.
Oh, okay.
And they need flour to survive for the tea that they're making.
Well, that's
Yum.
clearly obvious, yes.
Yum, delicious.
All right. Let's see.
Did you know that
What did I say we were going to do? Professor Peanut Butter and the Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
So, as history has it, there was a famous professor by the name of...
Professor Peanut.
That's right. Now, you've heard of his antics in other places, but the one you haven't heard is his adventure in the Temple of Doom. Now, what historians have learned is that there was a great temple in the pyramids of Egypt. And it's said that inside this temple, if you can survive its many traps, down, way down in the middle of it, sits a room barely lit only by the glow of a cup sitting on a bench in the middle of the room. Why does the cup glow? Well, funny you should ask. It's gold. It's made of pure gold, but it's a magical gold. And the glow is so bright that it lights up the entire room, even though it's not connected to any power. It's just a golden cup sitting there. And many an adventurer have tried to get that cup, and many an adventurer have perished. And when Professor Peanut Butter decided to give it a go, that's where our story begins. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing Professor Peanut Butter did was to go find a guide, and he got there, and he was looking for a guide, and he found a young boy who claimed to know the pyramids inside and out. And because of his size, he said he had been in there through some secret passageways. He sounded like he knew what he was talking about, so Professor Peanut Butter went ahead and hired him. And they started exploring. The first thing they did is went around and looked at the sides for any secret entrances. The little boy remembered one, and he showed it to Professor Peanut Butter, and they opened it. He pushed a button, and a big door in the pyramid opened up. Well, they walked in, and it was completely dark. They couldn't see a thing. And Professor Peanut Butter said, how are we going to solve this first problem? And so he took his backpack, grabbed a stick, wrapped a t-shirt around it, and set the shirt on fire at the end of the stick. Lo and behold, the room lit up. And as it did, JJ, there were bugs everywhere. And I don't mean 10 bugs. I don't mean 10,000. I mean 1,000,000 bugs. Creepy crawlies everywhere.
I'm afraid of insects.
I know.
I'm afraid of
I know. And you know what? They were
Yeah.
carrying little signs, little tiny signs, little pickets that said, "Don't persecute us. We're friendly. Why? Why are you afraid of us?" And he looked, and he was afraid of insects too. And at first he's like, "Ah, get him away!" Ah. And then he noticed, took his magnifying glass out, and he looked really hard, and he saw their little tiny picket signs, and they were on strike because they were tired of being oppressed and all the people not liking them because they didn't even get a chance to know them. And so, at that point, Professor Peanut Butter realized, wait a minute, I haven't given these guys a fair shake. I should be more friendly with them. And from that day on, he was friends with all of the insects. So he made it through the first trap just by being friendly. Can you believe that? Well, once he got to know the bugs, they showed him the next passageway. And so he went over and tapped it. And it opened up another doorway to a great big room. And I don't mean a room like this one. I mean a room where you almost couldn't see the ceiling. It was so big.
Like all the way up to the sky?
Yeah, it looked like, it seemed impossible because they were in a very large pyramid, but it looked like it was bigger than the entire pyramid. And so they didn't quite understand it. And they looked down, and guess what?
What?
No floor. There seemed to be no ceiling, and there was no floor. And he said, well, how are we supposed to get across this? And as soon as he finished that sentence, the door behind them closed. And they're standing on this little tiny ledge. All of a sudden, the wall starts moving forward, pushing them slowly over the edge. Dun, dun. And they're like, he looks at the kid, he's like, what are we gonna do? Ah! And it's just moving slowly, and there's like inches left between, they're just hanging on. And they're like, we're gonna die. And it pushes them and they fall. But they landed on something. It was a floor. You just couldn't see the floor. And they looked at each other and said, what just happened? And it looked like they were just floating in air, but there was a floor there. It was just a see-through floor. And they both looked at each other and went, whew, I think I peed my pants. And then they started laughing. And then they got up and they started looking around, and the boy was about to run, and he stopped him. He said, wait! What if the rest of the floor is missing sections? What if we fell through somewhere? How would we know? And so they had to think about that. What would you do, JJ? If you couldn't see the floor, how would you know to take a next step? Where would you take the next step?
Well, I would just find a bucket of rocks, and then
That's brilliant.
And then I would just pick one up and then throw it
Yeah.
across. And then wherever it landed, that would be the place where we should not step.
JJ, you just solved the next riddle.
And then I should do it again,
Yeah.
again.
I am thoroughly impressed with you. So, they grabbed some sand and threw it, spread it out across the floor.
Sand?
Yeah, just like a rock. They threw the sand out across the floor, and you know what happened at that point? They could see where the floor was and where there was no floor. And so they simply walked across and got to the next puzzle. Now, the next puzzle was interesting. They pushed the button, they walked through the door, and they were in a tunnel that was round, just like a tube. Look. Like this, but it was big, right? Plenty enough for them to fit through. They could walk. There was plenty of room. They could fit 5 of them in there. It'd be fine. It was weird because it was round shaped versus, a hallway like our hallway. And so they started walking along thinking, boy, this is a little too easy. What's going to happen here? And at that point, the door behind them, guess what had happened? It closed. And in front of them, another door closed. And they looked at each other and they weren't sure what to do. And all of a sudden they heard some rumbling that seemed very far away. And they couldn't tell if it was coming in front of them or behind them, so they didn't know what to do. But they knew they better move soon.
I do. I think I would just get a double, get 5 more people, and then you can make a circle that the backs touching backs and eyes looking straight forward.
In each direction?
Yep.
Well, luckily there are 2 of them, and luckily this tunnel only had 2 ends. So that's a good idea. And so they did that. They turned back to back and waited until the rumbling got louder so they could tell where it was coming from. And all of a sudden the boy screams out, "I see it! Run!" And you know what it was? It was a big, giant ball the size of the entire tunnel coming at them. No way around it, and if it got to them, it was gonna crush them. So they start running through the halls as fast as they could, and that ball was rolling so much faster, running, and as they ran, they also set off traps, and spears started shooting at them, and they're ducking and tucking and rolling and sticking and moving. And even at one point, Professor Peanut Butter, nobody knew he was so athletic, ran up the side of the wall because it was curved. So he was running like this, and he went, wow, and totally missed an arrow that was flying. So arrows are shooting down the hall this way. The ball's behind them, and they're running, trying to dodge arrows and not get hit by the ball. And they finally get to the end, and they couldn't find the button, and here comes the ball, and they're scrambling for it, scrambling, couldn't find it. And then the boy just gives up and sits down, and as soon as he does, pop, the button hits, and the door opens, and they got through just like that.
So nothing happened to anyone? Nothing
Well,
happened to the boy?
not to the boy and not to Professor Peanut Butter because of their wits. However, one thing they did notice is all the skeletons in the hall of people that did not succeed before them. And the more they went through the maze, the more skeletons there were, each time someone failing the tests. Now,
Wait, I forgot the pan.
I will tell you part 2 the next time we do story time.
No, tell me part 2 now.
Sorry, kiddo.
But tell me part 2 now.
Can't. Story time's over. Would you like to say goodbye to your future self?
Peep, poop, peep, toilet.
I love you.